This is Financially Fit Radio with Corey Sickles from Safe Harbor Retirement Group. When a part of your financial strategy is out of tune, your long-term goals, your retirement savings, and your legacy can all suffer. With many years of experience in the financial industry, Corey provides his clients and prospects with the information they need regarding Social Security, retirement income planning, wealth management, and much more. Listen in as we address your financial concerns and provide helpful solutions to put you on the path to achieving your retirement goals. And now, here is Financially Fit Radio with Corey Sickles.
Hello and welcome back to Financially Fit Radio. My name is Corey Sickles from Safe Harbor Retirement Group and Wealth Advisors. If you would like more information about what you hear during our show today, just give us a call at 614-760-0670 or visit us online at safeharboroh.com. And while you're on our website, click on that radio page. You can check out some past shows and subscribe to our program on Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, Google Podcast, or Spotify. Also, feel free to visit our YouTube page by typing in Safe Harbor Retirement Group to watch videos on different financial topics. And please don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have questions or if you want to set up a face-to-face or virtual meeting. Remember, all meetings are complimentary with no obligation. Today, what we're going to talk about are common financial challenges. And, it's pretty tough as you're trying to save for retirement, things pop up. So we're going to talk about some of those financial challenges that can, really impede you from starting to be able to save for retirement. But before we dive into that topic, let me introduce to you my co-host this week and every week, and that's Tony Shore. Tony, how are you today?
Hey, Corey, doing great. Glad to be here, and I'm excited about the show today. It's fun to be back. It seems like there's been a lot going on. We had 4th of July in there, and it's been busy for a summer, and I can't believe how fast it's flying by, but I've been great, just trying to get some things done around the house while we have some decent weather. How about you?
Well, things have been good. It's hard to believe here. We're already in the, almost seems like almost the middle of July, end of July here. And, school's about ready to start. Vacations are going to be ending. And, when that stuff happens, that means people are also going to start coming back in the office so they can start focusing, on their finances. And, it's actually still a pretty decent or pretty, busy time of the year for us. But, once third quarter, fourth quarter come around here, we're going to be quite busy again. So, we're always looking forward to being able to help people out. And, some of the things that we're going to talk about today, Tony, I think are very common with a lot of our listeners out there today. Things do pop up. We all want to be able to have the best retirement that we possibly can. But there's always going to be constant challenges in order to help you save for retirement. So we're going to kind of talk about some of those items. The first one I really kind of want to talk about, and there's probably a few things we can talk about on this particular topic. And that one is, your monthly spending, exceeds your income. I think that could be actually quite common. Or, maybe you don't spend within your means, right? Whether you're actually going out and, maybe, buying a car that's probably you overpaid for. One of the things that I always have strived to do is, we have, of course, we have two vehicles, at our family, and one's always paid off, and one normally we have some type of car payment. But we're also, one of the things that I normally don't do, Tony, is I don't go out and always buy a new car. I want a dependable car, but, I try to go out and get a used car that's only, a couple years old, maybe with, a few miles on it. I know it's going to last me for a long time. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I do see people, I think they overspend on, and that is your car payment.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really something that people do overspend on, especially now. You have to be very careful, and typically, you're right, you're wise to buy used because the value decreases on a new car so quickly. It used to be you could get a great deal in used. Now you have to be careful, though. You have to price it out, see how much more a new is versus a used. Sometimes it's not that different, but there are great differences in prices. Used to be it was pretty universal, but I know my dad was looking for a new vehicle, and in one city it was one price, and in another city it was about $4,000 less for almost the same exact car, same mileage, and he looks them over really well. So you have to be careful when you buy a car, and you don't want to get stuck with car payments. My wife and I are proud that we buy cars that'll last, so we don't have car payments.
Right. I mean, that's exactly right. I mean, that especially when you head into retirement, you don't want a car payment. But I think there's so many consumers out there that struggle with the basic challenge of having an income that doesn't cover all their expenses too, just in general, right? And what that tells me is basically you don't really have any type of monthly budget that you're actually trying to be able to adhere to, month in and month out. And are you trying to keep up with the Joneses next door or your friends or whatever you want to be able to, do there from that standpoint as well. But, you really need to be able to get a grip on it. And when we start talking about, part of that monthly budget, part of that should be is your retirement savings, right?
Yeah.
One thing that you should be trying to do is save a minimum of about 15% of whatever your household income is on a monthly basis. That should be going to help build your, long-term wealth or your long-term retirement plan as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And I know that housing, cars, all of these things can really add up, and you want to be smart about it financially, don't you?
Yeah, you do. You definitely want to be smart about it. And the other thing you want to try to be able to do is also eliminate any type of credit card debt or balances on a per month basis as well. Interest rates are going up. That means those interest rates on credit cards are going up. You might be paying over 20% now. Things do happen, right? You lose a job, or we had COVID, or whatever that might end up being. It seems like one of the other bigger ones might be, Christmas and the presents you're buying for your kids or your grandchildren, and, all that type of stuff. But that's why it's so important to be able to have an emergency fund so you don't have to put things that are unexpected onto your credit card that's going to end up having a balance on it that you're just going to end up not to be able to get out of.
Yeah. Yeah, like the garage door, the coils, the big springs on our garage door broke. We'd had them for years, and they finally broke, and we had to have those replaced. It was outrageously expensive. I mean, it was way more than 20 years ago when I had it done, of course, but things like that have gotten so expensive, and if we hadn't had money in our emergency fund, we would have had to put that on a credit card, and that's not good. You want to make sure you have an emergency fund so you can pay cash for those kinds of things and not run up a credit card balance if you don't have to. So that's really good. And it's funny you mentioned Christmas spending, Corey. I just read an article that Halloween is almost up. The last year Halloween people spent almost as much as they did on Christmas. And then 4th of July just happened, and my wife and I are like, oh, let's buy decorations, or let's all buy matching shirts for us and the kids for 4th of July, and let's do this, and let's grill out nice meat. I mean, you end up holidays, it's, people don't think about it, but you spend a lot of money on holidays, more than you think.
Oh,
right?
Exactly right. Yeah, whether it's decorations or whether, that just means families are getting together. And when that happens, it seems like a lot more money's being spent too. And part of that could end up being too is, like 4th of July, we had a family vacation that time, which means you're going to be spending more money. We rented a house, so, I mean, all that stuff adds up, but hopefully for most of our listeners out there, that is within your budget, at least on an annual basis. So you're kind of be able to save from that. So you're not putting on a credit card, all those other expenses on there, and it's going to take you time in order to pay that off.
Yeah, for sure. I would agree with that.
Well, Tony, today what we're talking about are the most common, financial mistakes or problems or situations that everyone's going to, kind of deal with on a day-to-day basis, especially when you're starting to plan for retirement. And one of the things that I'd highly recommend, especially if you're in a situation where you're not being able to save potentially as much as you can because of debts or whatever that might end up being. One of the things you might want to do, and it's becoming more and more common, is pick up that side hustle, right?
Oh yeah,
pick up a little side hustle to make a little extra cash. Maybe you can monetize some type of hobby you have out there, or other type of odd jobs, or become a freelancer in the industry of your expertise, whatever that might end up being. But it's amazing, maybe picking up another, $10, $15, $20,000 a year, what that can actually do, not only, to your monthly budget today, but more importantly to your, your financial future as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's huge. And it is what they call the gig economy, and the side hustle or gig economy. That's popular right now. And a lot of people get jobs doing things they like to earn extra money. And you can do this in retirement as well, or leading up to retirement to boost that retirement savings or your investment. It's a great way to stay on track financially and be able to live more comfortably for a lot of people. So I'm glad you brought that up. Some people do Uber driving part-time. Some people work security at concerts so they can get to see concerts. Some people take a hobby and they turn it into a business and sell online or at different events. I see it happen so much. So many people I know do this. It's really interesting. My neighbor across the street has a great full-time job, but he loves woodworking, so he does that on the side in his garage and has all the equipment, and he does a really beautiful job and makes a lot of money doing it.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of different little things you can do. If you like golf, maybe you become a starter on the weekend. Now you potentially have the chance to be able to play for free as well. So I mean, there's a lot of different there's a lot of different side hustles that you can do.
Yeah,
and you might be able to find something that you kind of enjoy, or maybe you can learn more about too. So that can actually be a good thing. So one of the most expensive costs, really as you're trying to save for retirement or as you're, going through life, and that is children. Tony.
The kids,
oh yes.
Yeah. I got three of those.
Oh yeah.
And they are costly.
They're expensive.
Yeah.
Not only, especially as they're growing up today and they're playing all these, if they're playing sports or other hobbies, all that stuff costs money. If you're sending them to private schools or anything like that, that can cost money. Then they, flat out, they have to eat and do all that, clothes and all that type of stuff. And then all of a sudden, now you got to pay for college, right?
Yep.
Kids are expensive. And hopefully you're in a situation where you're not taking care of your children, if they're in their late 20s, early 30s as well, in order to try to help them out. I do see that a lot, where I think parents help out their kids a little bit too much. And really what that does is it hurts your overall retirement plan as well. But kids are expensive. And you need to be able to, that means, again, that's why it's so important, especially if you have children, to have a monthly budget, because not only you need to juggle all these costs that we just talked about here a second ago, but you also still need to make sure that you're saving 10 to 15% for your long-term retirement plan as well.
Yeah. I have 2 in college and 1 in grad school. So all 3 of my kids, and that's expensive too. And mom and dad have to help out a little with that. So it's not over with yet. I thought, we're going to be empty nesters here, but sometimes the expenses still happen. But we make them work and pay for part of their college and encourage them to get scholarships. So that was very helpful. But there are things you can do. But yeah, kids, that's it. They are so expensive. And we think back what everything our mom and dads did for us and what we're doing for our kids, but it's a fine line. You don't want to sacrifice. You're right. You don't want to sacrifice your retirement for your children. You can't do that. It's like in the plane, Corey, when they say if the mask comes down, put yours on first in an emergency before your kids. Yeah, you won't be able to help your kids too well. You're going to be a burden on them if you deplete your retirement funds. That's not helping anybody.
That's exactly right. And of course, like I mentioned a second ago, one of the things that children can actually cost as well And I'm seeing more and more of this. Instead of the children getting the student loans, actually the parents are getting the student loans, which means that can limit, your ability to maybe buy a home or, put money in order to increase your savings as well, because now you have all these monthly payments for student loans. And what a lot of people did during the COVID era is they didn't pay on that. And all of a sudden they're going to have to start paying for that again here, this year. So student loans can really add to that. And you just need to be able to make sure that you're actually have that within your budget as well. So, with all this being said too, one of the other things you want to do, especially, if you're renting and if you haven't actually purchased a house yet, or you're trying to purchase a house, or who knows what other purchase you're trying to get, whether it's credit cards or whether it's actually getting a car loan or anything like that. But you can't ignore your credit score, right? If you don't have a good credit score, that means you're going to pay higher interest rates, and you might not even be able to get that loan. And there's a lot of jobs out there anymore that are also pulling your credit score as well before they actually hire you as well. So you definitely want to make sure that you're monitoring your credit. We've talked about that, a few shows ago too. You can find out, you can actually sign up for a free credit score site such as Credit Karma, or that's one of the ones out there. But there's 3 bureaus that you can also sign up for, whether it's TransUnions or Equifax or Experian as well. That's something that you definitely want to do. But one of the other things you want to do too, Tony, and this is, we probably could have talked about this a little bit earlier in the show when we were talking about spending within your means, and that is you really have to get rid of a lot of maybe the impulsive spending that just kind of takes place on a day-to-day basis, or especially on the weekends. Right?
Every day is a Saturday in retirement, and right now in your working years, that's and the weekends is when most people spend the most money, right?
That's exactly right. And one of the things you have to be able to do is, if you are going to purchase something, do a little bit of research. Don't go out and do that impulsive buy, right? Or maybe you're spending too much, for your shopping list, or it's always maybe helpful to bring a shopping buddy, for example, to kind of maybe keep you in order before you actually you make some of those purchases. You want to make sure that you're buying things that you should be buying. Avoid those impulsive spending, because all that can possibly lead to is more credit card debt, if you don't have this money in your bank account as well.
Well, yeah, that's true. You've got to watch that credit card spending, and you can utilize credit cards for the perks if you're disciplined enough to pay it off each month. But you have to have the money in the bank to pay it off before you use it. That's the key, right? That's
exactly right. To give you an example, Tony, one thing is right now the average American has a little over $5,300 in credit card debt. And let's just say that debt it's at an interest rate of 15%, and you have to pay 4% of a minimum amount. That minimum amount's a little over $212 a month, and it's going to probably take you about 140 months to pay it off, and you'd probably pay about $3,300 in interest.
Wow. So that's a lot. I mean, that's crazy.
Yep. One of the things that I did a long time ago, back in the 90s, when I got out of college and got my first job, the first credit card I got was an Amex or American Express. And I still have the American Express. And the one thing I love about it is I have to pay it off every month. They have sent me so many things in the mail or online to be able to sign up. You get you get more extra miles or points or whatever else in order to try to get it to where they can actually you don't have to pay everything off. So you do get a low interest rate for 6 months. Then it goes to this. I've never done it. I never will. I'm a firm believer if you can't pay that bill month in, month out, then you shouldn't be actually having that credit card or putting it on the credit card.
Right. Yeah, and if you're the type of person who can't be disciplined then you shouldn't have it. And I think, it takes discipline. We all want things, but you build up that emergency fund for emergencies. That way you won't have to rely so heavily on a credit card unless you're the type of person like yourself who's going to have it and pay it off each month. I think that's what a lot of people like about the regular American Express cards. Of course, now, and Discover, I think, used to be that way, but now Discover and American Express, like you say, they offer, payments, that kind of thing. You know, it's like an interest. And then that's how they catch people, and get interest.
That's exactly right. With all these things that we're talking about, all these expenses that can add up, whether you're in your 20s or 30s, or maybe you're even in your 40s, you have children that are still at the house. You have all these expenses that are taking place. You got car payments, you got credit card payments, you got all this stuff happening. But the one thing that you have to be able to do, and that is to be able to save for retirement. Yep. You have to do it. Missing all those years in your 20s and 30s and 40s it's gonna have a huge impact on your retirement plan. So you don't want to start saving for retirement too late, right? Whether you're, if you're working and have a 401k, at least put them in the minimum amount that company's doing that they're going to match at. That's free money that you're giving up. You have to be able to do that.
Yeah, you have to put in enough to at least get the full match. You have to put in as much as you can to get the full match. And then beyond that, you should be adding to it or open a separate IRA and work with a financial advisor. You're going to be a lot better off in the long run and not make costly mistakes that way. But you have to be putting in enough to get that match. You've always said that, right?
That's exactly right. And whether you're putting it in, doing it as a Roth or an IRA, a regular typical 401k, or maybe you're doing a Roth outside of your 401k. This is where I think the most important part of all this is. We've talked about a lot of things that can cause financial issues today, which means that actually leads to stress, right?
Yep.
And that's why it's so important if you feel overwhelmed about all these financial matters, that you seek out an advisor, sit down, they'll be able to sit down with you, help you put together the budget, help you to start saving, helping you to do what you want to do long term, in order to achieve your long-term goal, which is have a successful retirement. There's ways to be able to do that, to be able to save. It's so important that you just don't bottle all this up. One of them, of course, one of the biggest issues, or not the biggest issues, but one of the most common reasons why people probably get a divorce is because of money.
Yeah, finances. Yep.
Money issues cause stress. Stress can just leads to other things that you don't maybe that you shouldn't have to deal with. And that's why it's so important to seek help. We're here to help and guide, people to make sure that you're doing what you have to do in order to have that successful retirement.
Yeah. Well, Corey, great show today. We covered a lot. You gave us a lot of great information to think about. Let our listeners know how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, for our listeners out there, just give us a call at 614-760-0670, or you can visit our website at safeharboroh.com. We're here to help and guide you to have the most secure retirement that you possibly can. And the best way to do that is schedule a complimentary, no-obligation meeting with us. And all you have to do is give us a call at 614-760-0670, or just visit us online at safeharboroh.com.
All right, and that does it for today's episode of Financially Fit Radio.
Join us again soon for another episode of Financially Fit Radio.
Thank you for listening to Financially Fit Radio. Don't pay too much for taxes or retire without a sound income plan. For more information, contact Corey Sickles at Safe Harbor Retirement Group. Call 614-760-0670 or visit their website at financiallyfitoh.com.
All matters discussed during the show are for informational purposes only. Each individual situation may vary, and the opinions expressed here may not apply to everyone. Materials presented are believed to be from reliable sources, and no representations can be made as to its accuracy. All ideas and information should be discussed in detail with one of our qualified representatives prior to implementation. We are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration, the Federal Medicare Program, or any other government agency. Calling this number will direct you to a licensed sales agent.